everyone, welcome back to Bevan's Corner. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about my favourite things to watch right now, then a little bit of books at the end. So if you want to know what my favourites are, keep watching. The way this video is going to work is I'm going to split it up into different sections depending on the platform that you can watch it on. So for example, if you have Netflix, I'm going to do a whole bit on Netflix, a bit on NowTv, a little bit on Disney+, that kind of thing. If you look in the description box below, you will see that I've sectioned it out with different timestamps. So for example, if you've only got Netflix, then you can go into the description box, click on the timestamp for Netflix, and it will take you to that section. Dead easy. So the first platform I'm going to talk about is NowTv, and I'm going to start off with my favourite TV series. I mentioned this TV series on my channel before, but I still highly recommend watching it, and that is Nashville. Nashville is a show all about American country singers and songwriters that are trying to make it in the music business and just basically their lives behind stage, all of that kind of thing, and it is so good, and the music is incredible. I wasn't really a big country fan before I watched it, and then when I started to watch it, I really started appreciating country music, and I'm in love with the soundtrack. So even if you're not too interested in the actual TV series itself, you can always go and check out the amazing soundtrack. The second series for NowTv is Gangs of London, which is quite a new show, I believe. They've only got one series out, and I believe it's about 9 episodes. This one I actually watched with my dad. So me and my dad tend to try and find a series that we both like, which is pretty difficult. But Gangs of London is something that he actually suggested when he was flicking through. But it's basically about a big gang in London that basically run all the underground stuff and just following their family along. It's only 9 episodes, but we both really enjoyed it. At some spots in the series, it does get a little bit gory, so if you're not too happy with gore, lots of blood, all of that kind of thing, then it might not be for you. But I actually really enjoyed watching it with my dad, and if you're trying to find something to watch with the family, maybe not younger siblings, but definitely if you're sort of like 18 plus, then it is something to watch with the family, and me and my dad absolutely loved it. We cannot wait for the second season, but it's actually coming out in 2022, so yeah. The next thing that I wanted to talk about with NowTv is some of the films that I've really been enjoying, and the first one I wanted to talk about is called Clue. Clue is basically a Cluedo film. So the whole film is just one big murder mystery. A few people die and you're trying to figure out who the murderer is, and it is really funny and very sort of old school funny, very Carry On films kind of funny, I think. So I really recommend checking it out, especially if you like sort of comedy murder mysteries. The second film that I really enjoyed is Joker. It is so dark and so weird, but it is really interesting kind of seeing and unpicking those origins of the Joker. I feel like it's one of them that if you like sort of murder series and things like that, you're kind of numbed to stuff like this. So I found it really enjoyable. I absolutely loved it, but my parents, they enjoyed it but found it very dark and a bit chilling. If you love dark kind of thrillers, then it's definitely one for you. And finally, the third film that I've really been enjoying is called Ad Astra, which I hope I'm saying it right, and it stars Brad Pitt, who is beautiful. It reminds me a lot of Armageddon, but less romancy. But he basically goes to Jupiter to try and find his dad, and it's really kind of odd because you feel like it's set in current time, but then there's things in it like Subway on the moon and stuff like that. It's really hard to describe, but I do really suggest watching it. The only thing that I would kind of warn you about before watching it is I felt very weird after watching it, in terms of very small. If you don't like the whole space idea and how kind of alone we might be in space, then do not watch it, because that's how I felt after watching it. I kind of sat there and was like, okay, what is the meaning of life kind of thing. But it is a very good film, and also we love Brad Pitt. And finally, for NowTv, one of the things that I absolutely love about NowTv is the Sky Arts section of it. So they have loads of different concerts and shows and things like that. And as you know, I'm a big theatre kid, so there are some theatre bits on there as well. So So the first one that I absolutely love is the 25th anniversary of Miss Saigon. It is such a beautiful recording of it, and I feel like it's such a nice way to go see theatre if you can't go to the theatre all the time. So if you can't afford theatre, anything like that, then being able to watch a recording like that of it is so nice. In the 25th anniversary one, the cast are insane. They're so good. So if you do have NowTv, please check out Miss Saigon, it's so good. The second one that I wanted to talk about was something that I actually saw live, and then being able to rewatch it was incredible, and it is the Take That Greatest Hits. So this is the concert that they did in 2019, which I was lucky enough to go see, and it was amazing, and being able to rewatch it and kind of relive those memories was really nice. This one I thought would be so nice to do with the family. What we did is get some beers in, close all the curtains, and basically pretend that we were there. I know it sounds really sad, but it was actually really nice. And Take That are one of those bands that I feel like everyone doesn't realise how many songs they actually know by the band. But the concert itself was so lovely, the graphics were amazing, and I'm so in love with Gary Barlow. But this is definitely one to watch with your mum and your family and basically have a mini concert in your living room. I know they did the Meerkat ones, but this one's better, I think. The third one that I wanted to talk about is Funny Girl. I had never actually seen the film Funny Girl with Barbara Streisand, but this one was filmed live at the Manchester Palace, which was quite nice, and it has Sheridan Smith in, who is absolutely incredible. So it was actually my first time ever watching a musical, and I blooming loved it. So alongside my 3 suggestions to go watch, just check out the Sky Arts kind of section as a whole anyway. There is a Hamilton documentary on there actually, which is really good, so definitely check that out as well. But that was my NowTv section, so now it's time to move on to Netflix. So with Netflix, I decided to kind of limit myself to TV series because there is so much on there as well. So the first TV series that I want to talk about is something, again, that I've talked about on this channel, which is On My Block. On My Block is basically about some kids just trying to get through high school, but then they get involved in gangs. There's also a bit of like a puzzle in there, which I'm trying not to give it away, but a puzzle that they try and solve as well. And oh my goodness, it is so funny. The twists and turns in it, you just do not see coming, and it is absolutely amazing. I haven't really heard many people talk about On My Block, but please go watch it. I believe that the series is now finished. Jack disagrees with me. He thinks that they're going to do another season, but I don't think they will. But it was so good, and I loved the ending. I thought it was really cute. So definitely go check out On My Block. You will be hooked. You will love it. It is funny. It is shocking. It's just one of them that has everything. The second TV series that I recommend go watching is actually an anime. Now, you might be like, animes, I don't want that, I don't like animes, but this one, I think, is one of them that anybody can get into, and that is 7 Deadly Sins. If you like fantasy, then I believe that you will love 7 Deadly Sins. It is basically about these different creatures that are trying to defeat the demon race, and it is amazing. It is so good. They're on their 4th season now, which I'm halfway through, and I am an anime fan. I do really like it, but I've had friends who have watched 7 Deadly Sins and they really enjoy it, even though they're not big anime fans. So I really recommend going and watch it. It is an adult anime, it's not a kids anime, and it is just so good. There's so many twists and turns, it's really funny, and yeah, I just really like it. So at least give the first episode a watch. I think it's only like 20 minutes per episode, so go check it out. The third series that I wanted to talk about is the UK version of Shameless, which they finally put on Netflix, because I know that the USA one was on there for ages, but in my opinion, it I couldn't watch it. It just wasn't anything compared to the UK one. I personally watch it with my parents. I know if you've seen Shameless before, you're thinking, what the hell? But it is really, really good. I don't recommend watching it with your parents because there are a lot of sex scenes, there's a lot of swearing, a lot of drug use, but it is very, very funny. If you're a fan of things like Skins, then you have to watch Shameless. There is a lot of seasons to get through. I don't know personally if I'll be able to get through them all, but the first season is actually really, really amazing. So even if you make it through the first season, you'll probably end up loving it anyway. But it is so good, it's so funny, it's set in Manchester. And watching it again after living in Manchester and being like, I know that place was really weird. But it is such a good season. I feel like it's got something in there for everybody and it's just absolutely hilarious. The final series that I wanted to talk about for Netflix is Too Hot to Handle. Me, Jack and Josh literally binged this in an evening. We loved it so much. If you are really missing your Love Island fix, then this is the show for you. It is one of those kind of trash TV things, but it's also so good. Basically, they just put all these singles onto an island and they have this big jackpot. I think it's like £50,000 or something. And all they need to do is just not touch each other, like do sexual things, and basically they don't do that at all. They literally have one thing to do, which is just not touch each other or kiss each other or anything like that. But of course they do. It's basically about all these crazy people and how they are basically shown how a true relationship should be and how they should really view themselves and all those kind of things. But it is absolutely hilarious. Again, we binged it in one evening, so you can too, and it is so good. Moving on now to Disney Plus. Now with this, I really wanted to talk about TV because obviously, you know, Disney films, they're quite well known. So I really wanted to talk about some of the TV series that they have on there. First one that I wanted to talk about is something that I have been personally binging in the last couple of weeks, and that is the Clone Wars animated series. Don't get me wrong, I am a Star Wars fan. I do enjoy Star Wars, but it's not like I'm not obsessed with it as I am with like Disney, as you can see. So my friend actually told me to watch Clone Wars literally years and years ago. But I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, like I enjoy the Star Wars films. Like I've not really watched all of them massively through. Like I used to watch Phantom Menace when I was a kid just because I had it on video. But the others I haven't really watched in order or anything like that. So I was like, oh, I don't really know. But honestly, I am in love with the series. Voice actors literally sound exactly like the characters in the films. One of the things that the Clone Wars series has kind of changed me a little bit is my appreciation for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love him, he's so funny. You get so much more backstory than the films show you as well, and there's a few more characters that are more permanent in the series and you don't see them in the films, and oh my gosh, it's just so good. I know that it's like a cartoon, and I understand some people don't really like watching cartoons, but it's one of those that I feel like adults can watch as well and adults can really enjoy too. If you are a Star Wars fan, you need to get on it right now. If you're not a Star Wars fan, at least give it a go. Made me actually understand the Star Wars films more, because when I used to watch it when I was little, I didn't really understand what was going on. Even watching it as an adult, I think because I've not really properly watched them, I was a bit like, I don't really get what's going on. The series actually kind of made me understand the whole point of Star Wars, which I feel like I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that, but it's a really good series, basically. The second one is more of a documentary series, and it is the Imagineering story. I cannot recommend watching anything more. I think this is kind of like my top pick out of absolutely everything. I know that I'm a Disney nut, so probably quite biased, but it is basically talking about how the engineers created the different Disney parks and what happened behind the scenes, and it gives you a little bit of extra information about why they created certain rides, why they created certain worlds and things like that. The thing that I love the most about all the Disney parks is the fact that they put so much attention to detail. So you have all the hidden Mickeys and like different snippets of things all around the parks, and it really goes into detail about why they do all that and how they create the ideas for all the different kind of rides. The fact that the majority of them weren't even engineers, they were just kind of animators and things like that. It's such a good series and it really makes you appreciate the Disney parks even more. The one warning that I will give you about watching this series is the amount that you will want to go to Disneyland once you've watched it is quite high. I've literally not stopped thinking about wanting to go to Disneyland since I watched it. Linking on to that, the other series that I really recommend watching is called Prop Culture, and this is basically about a guy who collects props from films, and he goes around the world trying to find different Disney props. The series is sectioned out into different films, so they have Mary Poppins, they have a little bit from Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's really nice. It's quite a wholesome kind of series, and there's only a couple of them, so it's kind of a fast watch, and it just kind of makes you appreciate how much work goes into making films, and also how much little props can actually mean to people. I mean, if I was in a film, I would definitely try and steal some props. The last series that I wanted to talk about with Disney Plus is Encore, which is such another wholesome TV show. The show is basically people that have done a high school production of, say, Grease, and they are contacted about 30-40 years later and asked to put on the show again as the original cast, and it is really lovely, and they all come back to their high school to perform the show again, and it's just really nice. And if you're really into musical theatre, I really recommend it. I personally haven't watched all of them just because I'm not familiar with all of the shows, but the shows that I've seen or have been in, it really made me kind of feel like I really miss those shows and kind of reminded me of all the memories from performing. The last section for things to watch is YouTube, and I wanted to recommend two YouTubers that I've kind of recently-ish discovered. The first one is someone that I really recently discovered, and I absolutely love them. I think their channel is so incredible, and their content is really interesting and different, and that is Glam and Gore. Her videos are so incredible and so unique and really interesting. She does stuff such as special effects makeup, she does her makeup in haunted places, she goes on ghost hunts, and it's one of them that I really enjoy just sitting and binging loads of her videos, putting them on in the background when I'm getting ready, that kind of thing. So I really recommend going to check her out if you love watching YouTube. So the next person is someone that I've been watching for quite a while now, but the main reason that I wanted to recommend watching them is because she's just started up a new series which I love, and that is Gen X Pen, and she does an episode series. Episode series is basically an app game that you get on your phone, and she just goes through it. She's so funny, and the storylines from these episode games are ridiculous, but she's literally just started a new series doing episode again, which she posted the other day. If you want to see a new kind of YouTube series, then I definitely recommend watching her. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is books. The first book that I wanted to recommend is On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher, which I absolutely loved. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but in a very good way. It is basically about someone who dies right at the start, and then she's got some unfinished business and then has to try and go through and figure out her unfinished business kind of thing. I'm not very good at explaining it, but it's such a good book. To be honest, anything by Carrie Hope Fletcher is so good. When the Curtain Falls is probably my favourite one, which my friend is still borrowing at the moment. So yeah, anything Carrie Hope Fletcher. My second book recommendation is this, which is The Homework by Julie Andrews. So I had never actually read a autobiography before, and I wasn't sure what I was going to think because I'm very much into fantasy and kind of losing yourself into a different world kind of thing. So with this one, I am not actually that far through it, but the first one, which is just called Home, is the one that I completely blitzed, and now I'm on to this one. And basically she splits her book into like two portions of her life. So she's got her early life, which is more the musical theatre side of things, and then this one is more of her time in Hollywood with Mary Poppins, Sound of Music, all of that kind of thing. And I really wasn't sure what I was going to think, as I said, because I'd never read a autobiography before, but I just absolutely loved it. I completely got lost in it. And if you have never read an autobiography either, you're really into movies or into musical theatre, then the Julie Andrews one is definitely a really good start. And then lastly for books is actually an audiobook. You can actually get it into physical book form, but is an audiobook that I listen to. I did actually mention this in my redecorating my room video, but it is the Stephen Fry mythos, and if you watch that video you know how much I love this audiobook. Basically loads of different tales and stories about Greek mythology, but then also tells you about how that influences the way we talk and sort of label things the way that we do today. So good and so educational, and we all know that Stephen Fry's voice is amazing to listen to from the Harry Potter ones that he did. But yeah, really recommend listening or reading, depending on which one you want, the mythos books. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you enjoy any of the things that I've talked about if you go and try it out. If you do, please let me know in the comments what you thought, whether you'd recommend it, or if you have any recommendations yourself, just pop them in the comments as well. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.